Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah, la'asok b'divrei Torah, la'asok b'divrei Torah, la'asok b'divrei Torah, la'asok b'divrei Torah. Okay, I'm going to wipe this board really quickly just because we will be writing on it, probably. And I just don't have anything on it right now. Okay. So last week was fun?
Yeah.
Some fun stuff? New stuff? Okay. So I thought, first of all, we got to give charity. We will not have class next week because we will be out of town, which means what will my boys be doing probably?
Playing golf.
Thank you.
It was just a lucky guess.
It's a lucky guess. It's a lucky guess. So that's give to charity. All right. But we do have services Friday night. And last week we went over some different things, and that were all things you were familiar with, but in a different way, I think, right? Today we're going to do the same. We'll see how far we get. Tonight, instead, we're going to use this, the Siddur. Okay? So let me, well, I have like 2 more bottles. Thank you. So let's go over what the Siddur is. And you all have your own notebooks, right? These are the same ones you had last time, or?
I didn't put my name on it.
Different one, but yes.
Because they're still blank.
I need
Okay.
one, the other one.
You did.
Sorry. Took me a while, that's all.
Thank you so much. All this rain has made me thirsty. Okay.
Thank you.
What is a Siddur? All right. So let's back up historically what the Siddur is and how it was composed. So God gives us these commandments, how to pray, how to do what to do for our prayer service. Okay, we're only talking about our prayer service now. And we build the temple. The temple's built. And the people come to the temple and they have these transcendent experiences. They have these experiences that are, huge, right? And it's a combination of a lot of things. It's the structure of where the sacrifices are and the prayers are and what the prayers are. And it's the music going on over here and the psaltering going on over here and the candles over here and the incense over there and all this stuff. It's shamanic drama. Okay. And the temple's destroyed in 70 of the Common Era. And the Jews don't know what to do because they can't do any of the prayers in the temple time. Makes sense? Okay. So they're lost. It's called a Shoah. The first destruction of the first temple is called the Shoah. The second temple, the Shoah. And like the Shoah after the Holocaust, it takes 100, 200 years to even recover from that kind of craziness. We're seeing it right now with all the Jews that have become secularized, rejected. On a certain level, it's because their parents rejected it because they didn't know how to deal with Holocaust. I mean, it really shatters everything. So Jews are dispersed. And you have the leaders of areas called Gaons. Gaon means pride. And the Gaon of each area was the head rabbi of his area, okay, for his community. And a number of them are scholars, especially in the Saudi Peninsula. And they start to deconstruct and reverse engineer the prayer service to backtrack and try and understand what was happening in the service in the temple, what was causing it, and then to go to that cause and come around a different way and do it a different way. And so what they did is they recognized that the entire service of the temple was designed around the 4-lettered name of God. Okay? The Yud, Hey, Vav, and Hey, and the little kutch, the tiny point at the top of the Yud. And they looked at all the different services that they had to do based upon what was in the Torah, what God had commanded them. And they realized, okay, let's see, the bottom Hey is purely physical, the Vav is physical, a little spiritual, the Hey is spiritual, a little physical, the Yud is purely spiritual. They deconstructed and reverse engineered an entire thing, and they created an order of prayer service that was a different manifestation of opening ourselves up to the presence of God in our lives and God's name. Everyone follow me so far? You got that look on your face, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just trying to put it in context because, I mean, I know that we read the Torah, right, on Monday and
Okay,
Thursday because.
so there's 4 letters in God's name, right?
Yeah.
That way I don't have to bend down. Right? There's Yud, Hey, Vav, and Hey. Right? There's the 4 letters. So Y, H, W, and then H. And then we go from right to left. If you put those letters vertically, they look like a human being. So when we are said that we're in the image of God, this is what we are. You can see how this is the human being, right? Okay. If you look at a yud in the Torah, there's calligraphy. The yud doesn't look like this. The yud looks like this in the Torah. Okay. It goes up into an infinitesimally small point. It's called the Kutz of the Yud, right? And it's that place that is the Sistine Chapel where Adam is touching God or not touching God. With me? Everyone, that makes sense? All right. So each of these letters corresponds to a different place. This to purely physical, the Vav to physical with spiritual. The prayers, if you look at them, this is really what they're about. The Hey with spiritual. They're spiritually oriented, but a little bit of physical. The Yud, which is purely spiritual, but there's also this Kutz of the Yud. Okay, so it's a 4 with a hidden 5th. And the hidden 5th is the Torah service on Monday, Thursday, Saturday. Okay, makes sense? That's where. So, and if you look at Jewish structure, you constantly see that there's 4 plus 1, right? 4 cups of Passover wine plus 1 Elijah cup.
Right.
4 questions, but the first question is, why is this night different than all other nights? Constantly see 4 plus 1. Okay, so they reverse engineer that and they say, okay, we're going to have these same 4 pieces, and 3 days a week we're going to have Torah. So there's no difference, and they create what is called the Siddur, meaning order, just like Seder means the order of the prayer service. And many of these prayers were prayers that were already being used by the time of the men of the Sanhedrin in the 5th, 6th century before the Common Era, right? And these prayers, good morning. I'll give you a high five there. Okay. So these prayers are all like the Amidah. All right. So we're going to go through some of these prayers that we do on a weekly basis. We're going to start with just Friday night to try and understand what are we saying? What is this about? And what does this say about what's hidden in pure Jewish theology? Because it's all, again, hidden in plain sight. So you take your prayer book and turn to page 16. So this is before, so let's back up for a second. Let's go to page 50, I think it is. Okay, the Ma'ariv service begins, the evening service begins on page, their introduction to the Baruch Hu, but with the Baruch Hu on page 50, right? But so what are all the pages beforehand? It's called Kabbalat Shabbat. Kabbalat Shabbat literally means the receiving of the Sabbath. And so before on Friday night, we even pray, we do things that are before the prayer service. If
It's like the warm-up.
It's the warm-up. What does the rabbi do before he prays? He prays that he may be able to pray. Okay. So the first thing we do, we light candles, and then we sing this song on page 16. Right? Shalom Aleichem. All right. Okay. Shalom Aleichem. Peace, or this is a page 16. I think, yeah. Peace be to you, Malchei Shara, the ruler of everything. Malchei Elyon, the ruler of what is below, the ruler of what is above. The Melech Malchei Hamlachim. Okay, so Hebrew, the noun comes, Malachim means rulers. Malchei Malachim means the ruler of rulers. Hamelech Malchei Malachim means the ruler of the rulers of the rulers. So God. Okay? But it's 3 times. It's three different rulers, right? One is God, one is the angels, and one is us. Okay? So we're welcoming in these angels of peace. Okay? What does that first of all tell us about Jewish theology? We believe in angels. And the word for angel is the same as the word for messenger. Okay? And so this is the angel of angels. This is the ruler of the ruler of the rulers. Okay? Hakadosh Baruch Hu. He is blessed. Okay? Everyone with me? Okay, we're on page 16. All right, so that's the first one. Then we say, after we say welcome, we're saying Boachem. Come. Okay, come to us. I don't know how they translate here, so. Yeah, but literally it's saying Boachem l'shalom, come in peace. Malchei hashalom, the messengers of peace, the angels of peace. Malchei elyon, the messengers, the rulers of the heavens. Mimelech malchei hamlachim, from the God, angels, people, from the ruler of the rulers of the rulers, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, blessed is he. So we've said, peace be unto you, hi, welcome, come to us. We say Baruchuni, bless me. Now it's interesting that this lesson, so we're constantly speaking in plural terms, we're actually asking the angels to bless us as individuals. So we're praying as a group, we're welcoming them as a group. We're welcoming them to come as a group, to come to us. We're saying, bless me as an individual. Okay? Again, the angels of peace, the messengers of peace, the messengers from above, the king of the ruler of the rulers, holy is he is. And then we're saying Seitchem, return. So our tradition is we go with our hands like this, return. Okay, Seitchem shalom, malachei shalom, malchei elyon. Okay, that's where we say Seitchem. And again, everything's on the one hand 3 times. That's both for our physical aspect of our soul, our emotional aspect of our soul, and our spiritual aspect. It's also, in this case, for the rulers of the rulers, the ruler of the rulers of the rulers. Make sense? Okay. How many times do we sing this? Okay. 1 for each of the 4 letters of God's name, 1 for each of the worlds. Make sense? Everyone with me? So Shalom Aleichem is literally inviting and interacting with non-corporeal beings as messengers from the high on high, and interacting with them on a collective and personal level. That doesn't sound very Jewish, does it? We're going to interact with angels, and we're going to, ostensibly, that's not what, when you look at Reform Conservative Judaism, that's not what you hear, is it? But that's what the prayer means. So what does it say about our theology? Do we believe in angels? Yes. Absolutely we do. And we interact with them. And it's really, really important to realize that even to prepare for Shabbat, we're saying that on Shabbat, we rest. God also rests. It says in the Vishamru, which is on page, I'll show it to you, just so I can find it. Vishamru would be on, if you find it, it'll be around page, I'm going to guess around. Okay, we find Vishamru on page 65, and this is from the Torah. And it says, V'shamru b'nei Israel, it translates, the children of Israel shall observe the Sabbath, maintaining through their generations as an everlasting covenant. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel for all time. And then it's always translated wrong. The next 2 lines are translated wrong. Ki sheshet yamim, because in 6 days Asad Adonai, God created, had a shamayim v'haaretz, the heavens and the earth. Uv'yom hashvi'i, and on the 7th day, Shabbat, God rested. Vaynafash. Vaynafash is a made-up word. This is in the Torah. This is a quote. This Shamru b'nei Yisrael et Shabbat Shabbos. Okay, this is where it says Shabbat vayinafash. Vayinafash is a made-up word.
Who made
God did.
Oh, well, aren't all words made up?
Well, but this word doesn't appear anywhere else.
Oh,
Okay, it's improper grammar. So let me explain to you what it is. Okay. Okay. This is in Exodus. It says where in Exodus on it.
That word.
That word is there. So what does the word vainafash mean? Va means and. Okay? The root of the word nefesh, N-F-S-H, means soul. Okay? The nefesh is an aspect of the soul. All right? With me?
Yeah.
Now you can take a word and you conjugate. Remember I talked a little about, I think it was Saturday, whenever, about conjugating and that there's things hidden in the grammar. So if I want to say I am speaking, ani omer, omer being I speak, right? If I wanted to say I spoke, I would say amarti. So there's a prefix, that means I spoke. If I wanted to say he spoke, I would say amar. Okay? Does that make sense to everyone?
Mhm.
There is no word nafash. So va means and, the yud prefix means he, and then this word bait nafash. There is no word of nafash. Nafash is taking the word nefesh, which means soul, and making it into a past tense, third person verb. So literally, vainafash, the actual translation, it's not good English either, would be and he sold. In other words, God rests and gets a soul on Shabbat too. Okay? So Shabbat becomes very, very important. And this because in the Torah it says God rests, God gets the Shabbat. Okay? He gets a soul. So we've welcomed in these angels and we've asked them to return. We are making on Shabbat, since we are resting and God is resting, we are making Yehud, we are making a union. Okay, Yehud meaning unification. The greatest union you can have in this world is a wedding. And Yehud is one of the 3 steps that make a wedding. You only need to have 3 things in a wedding, in a Jewish wedding. Everything else is custom. You need to have a contract, which is ketubah. You need to have a exchange of something valuable, which is the rings, and you need to make love. Yehud. And we believe in that moment, the groom is the Ruach HaKodesh, the Spirit of God. The bride is the Shekhinah, the female Spirit of God, and they rest together and they unify their souls.
So Rabbi, then you're saying that if a person does all the other things and they don't come home, if you will, and make love to one another, then they really have not solidified.
Correct. It's not a marriage.
It's not a marriage.
It's not a marriage. That's why.
That's what I was always taught growing up. Even my story.
Right.
But sometimes you hear different things.
No.
That's
Jewish law, everything else in a Jewish wedding is custom. Those 3 things are mandatory. So the tradition actually is that on the wedding, when you break the glass, the bride and groom do not talk to anyone. They go to a private chamber, which has a shomer, a guardian outside of it, and there they prepare their favorite food and drink, and they feed each other and they make love. That's the tradition of a Jewish wedding.
He witnesses every single
I'm lucky I witnessed my own. So, okay. Right? So
The royal, royal family.
this has to happen. Okay, so on Shabbat, we are marrying, hey brother. Okay. We are marrying. God and us are being married because we're on this day of wholeness and of rest where God gets a soul and we get a soul. Make sense to everybody? So we have what's called, before even the Friday night, we have this thing called Kabbalah Shabbat. And it begins, I think, here on page 24. This is only part of the tradition. This comes from the tradition in Sfat. In fact, I think at this paragraph, would someone please read page 21 out loud? Nice and loudly.
The whole thing.
Well, I'll read the first half and someone read the second half.
The evening service, Ma'ariv, formally begins with Baruch Hu. The custom of preceding the Mariv service for Shabbat Eve with the recitation of 6 Kabbalat Shabbat psalms originated with the mystics of Safad in the 16th century. Happily anticipating the weekly arrival of Shabbat, the bride, they eagerly ushered in the Sabbath considerably before the darkness of nightfall with processions and song. The 6 Psalms of the Kabbalat Shabbat were said to correspond to the 6 days of creation and thus to the 6 ordinary days of the week. The first 5 Kabbalat Shabbat Psalms share two.
We can let go from there. That's the you get the basic idea. And they would actually go out in Sfad, apparently, with a chuppah, 4 poles and a talis, and they would go out and they would dance underneath the chuppah. Okay. Which is kind of like what we do at Shabbat under the stars. Because we can't, it's the same basic landscape here as it is in Israel. Okay. Except Israel's hotter. So we have this Kabbalat Shabbat, which are psalms to prepare us for the wedding. Okay, these kind of things, right? We have these different songs that are sung with different melodies, right? And we have all of this, and then on page 38 we have Lachado D. So let's look. It always says, "Come, my friend, the bride is near the holy Shabbat, or the bride to meet the holy Shabbat. Let us now greet." What a horrible translation. Come, my beloved, likrat, to call out the kala, to announce the bride, the holiness, the bride who is our guest and who is now coming that we may receive her. So the idea is that the female presence of God is the bride. Who's the groom? Now we often go back and forth. There are times we refer that Israel is the bride and God is the groom, and in this case, that's what it's about. Now, what's interesting is if you look at the prayer, if you look on the Hebrew, you see that the first letter of each line, the shin, the lamed, the mem, the hey, and then if you turn the page, we don't typically do all verses. You have a hey, a lamed, a vav, and a yud. They spell the name Shlomo Halevi, which is the man Shlomo Alkovitz, who wrote Lachado D.
Wow.
Was one of the mystics of Sfat. No, he was one of the mystics of Sfat. So he did this so that he would always be welcome to the Sabbath. Okay, and it's very beautiful. And so there's things, and as you go through it, Shamor v'zachor b'ribur achad. Shamor means protect, safeguard. Zachor means remember. B'ribur achad are in fact one word or one thing. And it's our obligation and our privilege to both protect the Sabbath and remember the Sabbath. And it says in one place of the 10 Commandments in the Torah, it says protect the Sabbath. And the other place it says remember. So we light 2 candles. That's why we light 2 candles. One, because we're never sure, we're OCD. Okay, we are. And one candle says, since it says protect here, we light a candle here. Since it says remember, we light one here. That's why we have 2 candles. Okay, yeah.
Don't light, only light 3.
There's a great tradition. We light 4. That you light one for the people who died in the Holocaust. There's a tradition that you light one for that women will light one for all the women who died in the Holocaust. And you can't. There's another tradition that you also light candles for your children. That you light it. So we have 4. We've always had 4. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 for the boys. So, but you gotta light at least 2. Shemor v'zachor. And the idea of protecting the Sabbath and remembering the Sabbath is about when you love something, you protect it and you also take care of it. You remember it, but it really becomes alive. Who's ever spent a Friday night at the wall? God willing, you will this summer. When you are at the wall on a Friday night and you are dancing Lachado D with IDF soldiers with machine guns on their back at the wall. You get, protect, and remember are one thing. Okay, that they are actually one word or one thing. But Dibur Echad means they are one thing or one word. Okay, so we have L'chadodi. Okay, and we have again. This is it because it's a wedding song. Okay, and it's often, by the way, in many different communities, this is the song that the bride will walk around the groom 7 times with. Okay, and it's or that they use as a processional. There was right after he died, a lot of people wanted this. Right after Leonard Cohen died, they did a lot of weddings when they did they wanted when the bride walks around the groom 7 times per spot. Again, 7's the number of wholeness, right? They would go l'chadodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabala l'chadodi, which is hallelujah. I heard there was a secret chord that David played before. L'chadodi is all about wedding and unification with God. And now we can start our service. Okay, now we can start our service. So we're going to go through a lot of it. We're not going to go through the entire service. That's for a different time. But we have the Baruch Hu. Now it says in the Talmud that you must say 2 prayers before you say the Shema. You must say the Ma'ariv Aravim, the prayer of separation. We are now on page 50. We must pray and recognize that God separates between the holiness of the day, the holiness of the night, the holiness of the weekday, the holiness of Shabbat, the holiness of the Jew, the holiness of the non-Jew. I mean, everything's holy. A pig's holy. God created it. It's holy, but we don't eat it. It's not holy for us. Okay? So it's about the separation, right? Because the very first thing God does, if we remember back in the Torah, the very first thing God does is he separates, lahavdil, between the elements. Okay? So you got to say that, and you have to say a prayer recognizing God's love, which is ahavat olam. You okay? You look tired. And so we say and then from there we say the Shema. Now the secret of the Shema is if you look at the Shema on page 54, this is whenever you say the Shema in the Torah, this is how it looks. If you look at that top line, you'll see that the third letter from the right, the Ayin, is enlarged, and the Dalet at the end is enlarged. They spell the word aid or witness. The Shema is not, there's no such thing as observant Judaism. It's participatory Judaism. The difference between a witness and an observer is the witness is part of the Gestalt relationship. Okay, I'm testifying. And that's where it comes from. It's from this prayer right here, the Shema. And that's why the Ayin and Dalet spell witness. Okay, because of time and I'm working very hard to be conscious because there's lots of things. We're going to move. What?
I have a question.
Yes.
I always need to ask you that. Why do we say just the Shem Kevod after the Shema, like softly?
We say it whisper. We say whispering.
Whispering, and we say it loudly.
We only say it loudly on Yom Kippur, and we say it loudly on Yom Kippur because the idea is on Yom Kippur we're in the midst of the heavens. We've disconnected from our physical body. Okay, and as opposed to blessed is His holy name. During the week, we don't go into that depth of the holy name. That makes sense. Yeah, so it's whispering. Okay, all right. Now, I think last week we talked about the Shema, didn't we? Last time we did, right?
Yeah.
About the idea of meditation. Okay, so the fourth part of every service in this on the Friday night begins on page 68. All right. So you got 4 parts to every service. Okay. So we based it on the morning service. The first part that you have are the morning blessings. Okay. This is Shachri, what we call Shachri. These are thank you God for allowing me to see. Thank you God for allowing me to put on my clothes. Thank you for being able to eat, feed, etc. They're all thank you for letting me go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Okay, all those blessings. They correspond to the last hey of God's name. They are purely physical. Okay, we call call it the world of Asiya, which means making. Okay? Purely physical. Again, think of the analogy I said last Saturday of the blown glass animal. This is the blown glass when it's sitting there by itself, a little elephant. Okay? After the morning blessings, we have, it's called Basuka de Zimra. But what it really, to make it easy, it's Psalms. Okay? These are the Vav of God's name, and these are physical, but with some spiritual overtones. And this is the world of Yetzirah, which means formation. Okay, this is making and that's formation. So this, using that analogy of the glass blowing animal, here's my little blown glass water bottle. When it sits on the store at Olvera Street, it's in the world of Asiya. When it's being formed, when I'm making it, and I'm forming it out of the glass, that's where this is, okay? It's a little bit more connected consciously to the glass blower. Who's the glass blower? Third section is called the Shema and its blessings. Begins with Baruch. It corresponds to the first Hey, and it is spiritual with a little physical. So it's now, they're more spiritual, but it's more spiritual in content with physical being the adjective. And we call that the world of Bariah, which means creating. So it's not even an animal at this point, right? It's nothing, it's just the glass.
Right.
That I'm starting to blow through, right? The fourth section is called the Amidah, or Shemona Esrei, which means 18 prayers, although there's actually 19 from the time of the Second Temple. They added a 19th prayer. This is the standing prayer. It's the Yud of God's name, and it is purely spiritual. Okay, and we call that the why am I blanking on the name? Asiya, Yetzirah, Bria, Atzilut, which means emanation. So that's the glass blower's breath is coming from the glass blower, now just extending the long. Have you guys all seen glass blowers before? Remember the Disneyland? They used to have them at Olvera Street. How many of you are old enough to remember when they did those at Disneyland?
I want one. You're talking about them, made me think, what happened to my little animals? Where are
And they sort of stopped doing those at those places. It was so beautiful, little filigree.
They have them still, don't they? Disneyland in the New
I've been
Orleans
Disneyland in
store?
many years for a different reason. I just couldn't get past the princesses with beards.
They have princesses with beards?
Yeah, that's when it was okay.
Oh.
Done. I just couldn't. I couldn't get past it. Okay, so the Amidah, which is purely
But their
spiritual.
penises were okay. It was the beards that bothered me.
I can see the beards. Okay. All right. So, and then 3 days a week, we have the Kutz of the Yud, right there, and that's the Torah service, and that is the blueprint, or that is the intention of the glass blower. Not his breath, but his intention. I'm going to make an elephant. Okay, and we call that as a cosmos. And it's the intention. Okay. So that's the order of the service. The idea being that go ahead.
Who designed or developed the order of the service?
This was reverse engineered from the time of the destruction of the temple till about the 8th, 9th century by Haigo and Sadigo in the Saudi Peninsula. And that's what I was saying at the beginning, based on
That's the connection.
that's the connection. You know it's going to get around to a connection eventually. So that's the connect. This is where it came. They went back to what was going on when they did the morning service in the temple, and then they reverse engineered what was going on. They realized, okay, it starts this way, this way, this way, this way. It corresponds to these worlds, it corresponds to this. And then they recreated it with some prayers and with other things. Okay? All right. So the idea is that you're starting off purely physical, and then you're going to move more and more spiritual until in Amidah, you were like an angel. An angel has one leg. Why? Because an angel knows its purpose. We have 2 legs. We don't always do our purpose, even if we know it. So by the time the idea is, if all these prayers have moved through you, by the time you get to the Amidah, your feet are together with one leg doing what God wants you to do. Does that make sense? So now we get the Amidah. Now the Amidah, and this is talked about in Talmud, is also called the Shemona Esrei, which means 18, because originally there were 18 prayers. At some point around the Second Temple, there became a 19th prayer added. So it's still called the Shemona Esrei, even though it's actually 19, not 18. Because we don't change things just because we change things, right? So the Amidah,
It's kind of like the Big Ten. How
It's
many
exactly.
teams do they have now?
well, I still think of the Pac 8, which shows
There
you
you go.
exactly how old I am. Okay?
Yeah.
I still think the Rose Bowl is the Pac 8 and the Big Ten.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
when kids tell me these other teams are playing in the Rose Bowl, it's like, what are you talking about? Okay. It's because it's Pac 8 and Big Ten, right? So let's look at the Amidah, because that's what I want to kind of spend some time on tonight as well. It begins on page 68. Okay. First, let's look at something on page 69 or page 70. Wait, I take it back. It begins on page 66. I apologize. On page 66 is traditional avot and gevurot. And then page 70 is the interpretive, because this is a conservative prayer book, so it wants to make everyone feel good. Okay, it's page 68 and 70. 68 is the traditional one. And we're going to look at what the difference is in 70 and why we don't do it. Okay, why we'll not do 70. So it literally is saying, Adonai Sefatai Tivtak, God, open my lips. Ufi yagi tehilatecha. It does not mean that my mouth may declare your praise. Literally, it means, because the kind of grammar it is, and cause my mouth to tell stories of your praise. Right there, we understand the hidden right in plain sight, right? Na 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 Adonai. Right, right there, we see the intention of the Amidah. If we are like angels at this point, we are to be so empty that we are not praying the Amidah. The Amidah is praying us. Okay, God is causing us to prayer so that we can hear God's voice in our own whispers. Okay, so it goes on. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, God of our fathers. Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov. God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. And it says, so the Talmud, there's discussion about this. Why don't we just say God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as opposed to God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob? And the reason is because Abraham finds God on a mountaintop, Isaac finds God, experiences God in a field, Jacob finds and experiences God in a building. So it's a teaching that we can all experience God in any of these ways, right? Now, if we turn the page, the modern from the 70s on one says, Blessed are you, O Lord our God, God of our ancestors, our fathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. And then it says, God of Sarah, God of Rebekah, God of Rachel, God of Leah. But Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah find God by getting pregnant.
Right.
You can find God on a mountaintop. You can find God in a field. You can find God in a building. You can't find God getting pregnant and giving birth. I don't care what is said. The princes of the beer can say they can all day. They can't. Okay?
They found God when they got pregnant? Please explain that.
So their experience of God was, in all of those cases, they weren't able to have children, and they got pregnant and they had babies.
So that made them believe they weren't believers.
It's not about believing. There's a difference of where you really have that transcendent experience. Well, there's the place of belief, and then there's the place of experience. When you give birth, which one of you women have given birth?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, you carried life within you for 9 months.
Mhm.
I can't conceive of that. Okay. Second of all, you passed a watermelon through the eye of a needle. Or in my wife's case, 2 watermelons. Okay. I can't conceive of that. Right? Then you nurtured this baby literally from your body. You nurtured the baby from your body while the baby was inside. You nurtured the baby from the body while the body's outside. How many of you of the men have children? Okay. Did you ever bottle feed your kids? I
Yeah.
bottle fed them. I didn't clean their diapers, but I bottle fed them. That's not true. I cleaned them until they started having solid food, and then I made excuses. But right, when you feed them, it's very intimate, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's no way it can be as intimate as what you guys felt. Not possible, right? It's just you can't put words to it, can you? In China, they say, Lao Tzu says, the Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. There are no words that you can share with any man that will make us really understand the experience of having this child grow within you, giving birth to this child, and then nurturing this child. Any words that you can think of? They don't exist. And we couldn't conceive of it.
But Rabbi, really, I don't think I've heard women say, I wish my husband had gone through this and he should have been here and he should have to see this. And I said, why is that? Because that's not the way God created things to be. And in the culture that I came from, they would say, when you conceived a child, they would say, God has smiled upon you.
Exactly.
He has smiled, he's kissed you. And so to say that my husband should have to, I said, sweetie, It's just like they would say, I put on 300 pounds and my husband, there's more of me to love. I said, no. That is not the way
That's
he
not the way it
found
works.
you. That's not the way it works.
And it's not, it's all, look, I know, I'm thinking of someone I love very, very much. I officiated their wedding. I officiated the baby name of their baby. Love the family very, very much. When she was pregnant, get this alien out of me. Okay? She could not relate to it. When she gave birth, a whole other world. And so we can't find God in that way, can we? Right? But everyone at this table can find God on a field, in a mountain, in a building. So it's actually more inclusive to say the traditional prayer. Now, so we go on. We're going to go back to we're going to go back to page 68 now, right? So then we go on. You are the great God. You were so full of awesomeness from the heavens. You redeem the pious with goodness, and you supply everything. And you remember, and this is v'zocher chastei avot. And God, you remember the piousness of our fathers, that you may redeem us in their name. Okay, makes sense?
Mhm.
You'll redeem B'neihem, the Ma'an before Shemo, Ba'ahava. Shemo means his name. What name? Yud He Vav He. Every time you hear Shemo, it's the Yud He Vav He, right? In love. And then it says, Melech Ozer Moshiach again. You are the king who helps and who redeems, who saves, and who is always protective of us and compassionate. Baruch atah Adonai, blessed are you, O God, Magen Avraham, shield of Abraham. Okay, now if you look at page 70, it says here, shield of Abraham and sustainer of Sarah on the English, but the Hebrew says Magen Avraham, which means the shield of Abraham. Blessed are you, O God, shield of Abraham, Bezrat Sarah, and with the help of Sarah. So on the one hand, their English is trying to be very politically correct, but their Hebrew is like, oh, by the way, Sarah, she's just a little help. I find it rather offensive. Magen Avraham. What is Magen Avraham? Judaism has two big shields. What's the first one that you know already? Magen David. And the second one is Magen Avraham. So let's go over Magen David first. It does not mean Star of David. Magen Avraham means shield of David. So let's go back. David is a singer. He's a warrior, he's an athlete, and he's a singer. Okay? Who sings? You sing. Who else sings? You sing. Anyone else sing? Okay? Most important concept in singing. What's the most important thing?
Support,
Breathing.
breath support.
Breath support. Agreed? It's your breath.
I would,
How you breathe.
I agree.
Okay? So, how many of you believe you are inhaling right now? Because you're not. God blows the breath of life into you. Kabbalah means to receive. We are never inhaling. We are having the breath of life blown into us, right? So God's actually exhaling, right? At the same time, we're inhaling. Okay? God is inhaling, which at the same time we're exhaling. So we're never really exhaling. God's taking the breath from us. Does that make sense? Think about when first God blows the breath of life into Adam.
That's why when you say your morning prayer, you say, thank you, God, for your faithfulness.
For faithfulness in doing this, because it's got, as soon as the cycle stops, done. Now, as a singer, David would know about breathing, right? So really, and you really understand if you ever scuba dive or snorkel, the difference. But so God is inhaling while we exhale. God is exhaling while we inhale. And then when God pauses, we are also pausing. How many of you remember being around a baby or someone who's dying? If you watch someone who's a baby or someone who's dying, their breathing is inhale, exhale, pause.
Yeah.
Right? And you know they're getting closer to death as they go,
Yeah.
and the pause gets longer before they go inhale, right? Okay. If you've been around a baby, your first baby, I guess by the time, except I had 2 first babies, but by the time I guess you get to the second, you're used to this. And you're watching them, they're these little pictures, right? They're these little things, right? I mean, and they go,
And they don't breathe.
and you're like, breathe, breathe. Okay. Right? Do you remember that as a father,
Yeah.
as a mother? Do you guys remember that?
And then when they didn't, you blew in their face,
It's just like,
and they would do that.
because you're flipping. They're fine. You're flipping it. Why? Because they're coming from the spiritual world into the physical world. Why? When someone's dying? Because they're going from the physical world into the spiritual, their soul. Okay.
Huh.
So God breathes the breath of life into us. God rests when we rest. Okay. Now, if you are in sync with understanding that we are never ever actually breathing, but God is breathing into us. We are never on our own. We are always the instruments of God. We are always in partnership with God. Then these 2 triangles, as you realize that, they start to become,
One.
well,
They overlap.
1 star.
Yeah.
And that's the shield of David.
Huh.
Magen David. It's a meditative technique. It's also understanding. That's why it's literally was on his shield as a warrior, because he understood that ultimately my protection is not in the hands of my spear. It's in the hands of our greatest weapon is not the Iron Dome. Our greatest weapon is God.
That's what Kahani says.
You know, I didn't know that, but you know, he and I apparently, I didn't realize that he was quoting me a lot.
He was.
I didn't realize it at the time. I didn't know that. Yes.
It's a triangle shape. The origin with
Because it's breathing. It's a triangle breathing. Inhale, exhale, hold. Right? When you're coming in, being into birth, when you're getting out of this physical world, the pause becomes longer and longer.
the geometry of the word.
The triangle, I guess you decide to say that this is when we're in balance as we're in this physical world. When someone's about to die, I guess it's more like this.
It's like primary shape.
Yeah,
It's
it's like,
it's like a first
right,
shape
it's like that.
coming.
Geometry. Right.
okay, okay. So
The squares.
this is the shield. I don't like that triangle. It's pretty good anyhow. Right now. So this is the shield of David. With me?
Uh-huh.
You've all seen that.
Right.
What's the shield of Abraham?
I was going to ask you that.
But it says here, blessed are you, right?
Mhm.
Baruch
Praised are
atah
you,
Adonai,
Lord.
blessed are you, O God, Magen Avraham, the shield of Abraham. So there's a point when in the Torah where God says to Abraham, you are in awe of me and I am your shield. Has to do with when he's fighting the kings and Sodom and that whole thing. Not when we destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, but when the fights are going. And the idea is Abraham was purely chesed, pure compassion, pure kindness. Abraham never sinned. He never did that, the kind of really evil type of dark mistake that other people make. David screwed up.
Yeah.
Okay? Let's be clear. He was, and that's what I love about David. I love about David because David screwed up. He put it on the table, sometimes too much of it on the table, and he screwed up a lot.
Classic male.
Okay, he screwed up, and there's a midrash about that. So, but God forgives him because he so opens his heart and asks for forgiveness. Abraham doesn't screw up that way. When Abraham gets tempted, he doesn't screw up that way. Closest he really comes is when he says that Sarah is his sister, not his wife, to protect her from killing him. So the midrash says that David says, "You gave a shield to Abraham. I want a shield. I want you to protect me the same way. And I want you to test me the same way." And so God tests him. How does he test him? Bathsheba. Right? And how does he do with that test?
Fails.
Fails miserably.
Yeah.
He fails about as badly as you could fail and still fail and still be existing. He just totally fails, right? He sees this naked girl bathing under his balcony, which always makes me, let's just remind ourselves, what was she doing bathing underneath the king's balcony anyhow? Right. I mean, what is she? Let's.
Gold digger.
She knew where she was going.
I think God made her do that.
She was sent
The
it.
point is, and David was tested. What does he do? He bada bing, bada booms, and then he sends out her husband to go die. Okay, and the midrash is, so then God says, "You don't get my shield like Abraham does. You get a different shield," because David realized, I blew the test. But David asks God to test me. He asks God to test him, and God does, and he fails miserably. Okay, so the shield of Abraham is the protection from us doing. So the shield of David is the protection against the world, right? Against what's outside. Magen Avraham is protection from us doing stupid things, doing the wrong things. Okay, does that make sense? The difference. This shield of David, you can't hurt me, right? The shield of Abraham protects me from hurting myself. Okay, because Abraham was in awe of God, and so he didn't do those stupid things. Okay, so here we are, we're beginning this all saying, we want to, as we're praying in this, protect me from being anything other than what I'm supposed to be. Okay, we then go into Atal Gibor Le'olam Adonai, and this is called the Gevurot, and this is the prayers about strength. Now, at the end of it, it says, in the English, things are just horrible. It says, Vene Amar, Atal Chayot Metim, Baruch Ata Adonai, blessed are you, God, Me'achayei Hametim, and they define it here as, praise to you, O Lord, who confers immortality upon the departed. That's a weird phrase, isn't it?
Yes.
And the reason that they translate it that way is because the rabbis who edited this prayer book didn't want to deal with what it literally says. So I assume about the English. Where is it? I need the Siddur. I need an art scroll Siddur. I know we don't. We have an art scroll Siddur. We must have art scroll Siddurs. I know we bought art scroll Siddur. Here we go. There we go. Thank you. Here, use this one. So if we look. Oh, wait, it's really tiny. It has the English and the Hebrew. We get one that's not quite so tiny. Got my glasses. So here's a weekday Siddur. That's on the right, can make that easier. And if we go to the translation, I'll bet you that it does the right thing. Specific to Zimra, the confession, Shachri. Okay, so here, let's see what their English translates. This is from Rabbi Art Scroll, the Art Scroll publishing. So here they translate it as you are eternally mighty, my God, the resuscitator of the dead are you abundantly able to save. Oh no, that's the beginning of the good work. How they translate it. They translate, you're faithful to resuscitate the dead. Blessed are you, Hashem, who resuscitates the dead. Literally, who raises the dead.
And where's the translation that's the other thing?
This
Oh,
is
the
on
trans-
page
departed
on
eternal
page
life.
68, on the bottom of it, where it
Oh.
says, "Blessed, praise to you, O Lord, who confers immortality upon the departed."
Oh,
The literal translation is Mechayeh HaMetim, who brings life to the dead, who raises, who resuscitates the dead, who makes the dead alive.
Essentially, you're saying that every time we breathe out, we are
Dead.
symbolically dead.
Yep.
And
Not
God-
symbolically.
And God
We are
brings-
dead
And God brings us back with his breath.
every moment.
Yeah.
Every moment. It becomes like the angel, where you're totally subservient and empty of ego and self. And that's what the Amidah becomes. So when you're saying the Amidah, right, when we get up there on Friday, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei, right, El Gadol, right, and then we get to it, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechei Metim Atah, right, V'na'am Anatah Le'o Metim, Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh HaMetim. Literally, you are saying God raises the dead, and we are all dead and alive because of God.
Is that the reason why the first thing you get up in the morning?
Modernity, yep.
That's why
To
that
me,
prayer in
it's
the morning is so important.
Rabbi Larry Goldmark believes that and teaches us that he's just Reformed rabbis because he used to be the head of the Reformed Rabbinic Union. That the most important prayer that you need to say is Modeni in the morning
Yeah.
Before you put
before you put on
your feet-
tefillin or anything,
and
before you put
your
things
feet
on the ground, before you do anything.
You know, I think one of the greatest prayers to me is the also coming out. Of course, that's the prior, but when you come after you come out of the bathroom.
That's the big
That
prayer.
is, because without him allowing you to have all these openings and
And literally, we got it right there on the restroom.
oh, yeah.
Okay, because it's so important. It's the prayer said most often we still can't create a doll that can take food in, process out the waste, and use the material that's needed. In our science, we can't create that, and it's literally who creates many openings, cavities, the closing of any of which would prevent me from standing before you even for a moment.
Yes.
That's what he said. Thank you, God, for prunes. And you know what's interesting is, again, the parallel between baby just coming into the world, old person dying. My grandma, God rest her soul, lived to be 100 years old. Okay? I remember my boys' first couple of years, life is very much around poo and pee.
Huh.
Do you guys, true? With the babies, right? With the kids?
Yeah.
And God, potty training was a pain. Boys and twins. Until someone told us about the potty party. When they do potty party, when they go potty in the bathroom, you throw a big party, throw confetti and everything else. So we did. We lit off confetti in the bathroom, which made a real mess of staining the tile. But nonetheless, that's okay. Potty. My grandma, God rest her soul, 92 or something. Grandma, how are you today? I'm good. I went to the bathroom this morning.
Hey, that's a miracle.
Right, it's a miracle. But when you're 90, it's a bigger miracle.
When you're 84, it's a
Yes.
baby.
Right? I pished. It's good.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, the parallels, we recognize this. So this prayer is all about raising the dead. Now, if we look at the interpretive blessing, this is the one with the women on page 69 and 70, or 69, excuse me. It still says, Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh metim, but now it's saying, praised are you, O Lord, who grants to the departed eternal life. How come they're departed? How come they have different translations when it's the same words in Hebrew?
Different people wrote it.
The rabbis figured, these rabbis who edited it, they knew what they were doing. They knew who the audience was on each one.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. The Reform one is the more interpretive one, is used by Reforms, and the more observant traditional is the first one. And they understood that conservative East Coast conservative is West Coast Orthodox, right? And they understood the research. So again, we do that. From there, we go immediately to this concept, okay, of Kedusha, sanctifying God's names. Atah Kadosh, you are holy. The Shimcha Kadosh, and your name is holy. Kedushim b'chol yom, and your holy name, we praise you, is so holy that every day we will praise you. Blessed are you, the holy God. Now here we have Adonai. Because if you look on page 70, you see the second line down, the fourth word from the right, it has two yuds, which generally we would say Adonai. If you look in a Sephardic prayer book, specifically a Mizrahi traditional prayer book, that's not what it says. So you understand Adonai means my master. Okay? And the reason we say, this is going to fall. And the reason we say, that's okay. You're right. Okay, so the reason we say Adonai Hashem is because the Yud He Vav He, you're not sure how to pronounce out loud, because they're four soft letters. Yud could be Ya or silent. He could be Ya Ja or silent. He could be Ha or silent. Vav could be O U Va or Wa or silent, and He could be silent. So we don't say the word out loud because we don't want to call someone by the wrong name. We don't want to say, instead of Alex, we don't want to call him Alexi. Okay, he might get offended. Okay, Fiona might not like being called Afana. Right? So we say Adonai, we say Hashem. Adonai meaning my master, Hashem meaning God's name, the name. It's in God's name. And in Ashkenazi prayer books, you'll see two little yuds, and they mean God's name. And Sephardic Mizrahi, which is a little older, remember the Mizrahi. So we get out of, we in 586, 587, before the Common Era, the first temple was destroyed. We are exiled to Babylon. We are able to come back from Babylon, and we come back with Ezra and Nehemiah, and they rebuild the second temple. And then in 70, the Common Era, that ends up being destroyed, and we get dispersed all over. But the Jews who go to Babylon, many of them do not come back to Israel, and they stay there. And they stay there when it's the Babylonians, and they stay there when it's the Persians, and they stay there when it's the Ottoman Empire, and they stay there when it's the Iranians, and then they leave in the 1970s.
Why did they say?
Because it was their home. And that's where they were. For 2,500 years. So they really have a lot more, if you look at Mizrahi customs, they're more accurate to biblical Judaism than Ashkenazi, which were influenced by other, specifically Catholic. If you go and you read a Mizrahi Siddur, I don't think I have one. I think we got one up here. I should get one, just so we have one. If you read a Mizrahi Siddur, instead of having Adonai like it has with these two yuds, right? This is what it looks like. Yud. Okay. Vav.
Oh,
Okay.
I've seen that. I've seen that.
And inside will be whatever it is as a meditation that you are to meditate upon, what aspect of God's name when you're saying that particular version. Because it's more meditative and more committed to mysticism that way. But literally, if you go, you've seen it, Jody. You're going through a Persian prayer book, or Sephardic, and it literally, this is what God's name looks like.
Yeah, well, first time I saw one, I was very
It's
confused.
very weird if you're not used to it. You don't know what it is. It's like, huh? And this is typically in script. So now it really doesn't, you don't know what it means if you don't understand. So we're saying Adonai, the idea being that we are to view God as my master in this particular prayer. You are holy, your name is holy. Blessed are you, master of everything, the holy, the God that is holy, the Kadosh God. Okay, so we have the Kedusha. This is also what we are taught is the angels, what they cry to each other in Isaiah's vision of the heavenly court. Okay, that going back and forth, and that's what this is. So you have all these prayers, and then it ends with a prayer for peace. But I just everyone got the just the beginning of the Amidah that we do on Friday night. There's a lot there, isn't there?
Yeah.
And it's about where do you find God? When we're saying the Amidah, when I'm chanting Lachado D, I'm not in this room. My consciousness is at the wall on Friday night, because that's Shemor V'Zachor to me.
Huh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
When we're saying this prayer, blessed are you, O Lord our God, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. Our kavanah can be, where do I experience God? In a field, in a mountain. Do I feel experience God in a building? Where do I experience God? So that I'm not saying the words are saying me. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
So now you understand when I say we don't pray the Amidah prays us. Now do you understand what I mean when I say that? But I can't spend 40 minutes on it. Here, okay. I want to go to certainly one, maybe two other things. We can all turn to page 90, please. Is this helping understand these prayers a little bit? And it's all this stuff is very mystical, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's right there in plain sight. Right there. It says it right there. Right? About these angels. About, all these different things. Okay, if we turn to page 90, we find Kiddush. Okay? The blessing of the Sabbath wine. Okay? So let's look at it. And rabbinic or biblical prayer? Talk about rabbinic, because it doesn't say that has commanded us to, the sanctifies for the commandments commanded us to. It's blessed are you, O Lord our God, Lord of the world, who creates the fruit of the vine. Okay, that works. Right? That works. And we understand that wine, the numerical value of wine, the Hebrew word is yain. The numerical value of that is 70. A yod is 10, a yod is 10, and a nun is 50. The numerical word for sod, which is a samek, which is 60, a vav, which is 6, and a daled, which is 4, is also 70. Sod means secrets. There's secrets only to be shared over a glass of wine.
That's right.
There's secrets. I say this at weddings. There's some secrets you should only share between a husband and wife, and it's also a reminder that the more the wine goes in, the more the secrets come out. Right? But the idea of partnership. And then let's look at this prayer that we chant every week, right? Right? Okay, let's really look at what this is saying. Not praise, but blessed are you, Lord our God, Lord of the universe. I got to do it with both fingers here. Asher Kedishanu Mitzvotav V'Tzivanim, who has sanctified us with your commandments, V'Ratzavanu, and who has wanted us to be holy, to bring us upon us and our children, Shabbat Kodsho, and his Sabbath, okay, Kodsho, his Sabbath. So whose Sabbath is it?
God.
It's God. If we're looking at wine, it's God's Sabbath, who gave it to us, Behava Uvratzon, Hinaltanu Zikarola Mase Breshi, who has given it, how do they translate? No, who has given it to us with compassion and as an inheritance to remember Lama'aseh Bereshit. Does anyone remember what Ma'aseh Bereshit means? Bereshit means creation. Ma'aseh means the workings of creation. Who has given it us to remember, and that's one school of the two schools of mysticism in Judaism. There are two schools in Jewish mysticism. Ma'aseh Bereshit and Ma'aseh Merkavah. Ma'aseh Bereshit, the workings of creation. How and why did God create the universe? Ma'aseh Merkavah, the workings of the chariot from the book of Ezekiel. How and why does God sustain the universe? Everything else is trivial. Those are the only two big questions. Why and how did he create it? Why and how does he bother sustaining it? Right? So God has given this for this Shabbat. One of the reasons it's telling us right here is so that we remember the workings of creation. To really, if you study Bereshit, we talk about it on we talk different times. But the workings of creation. Okay? How and why God created it. Ki hu yom tehillah, because it is the day of that is the primary day, the most important, the Mikra Kodesh, which we call out, which he calls out as holy, Zacher. But then it goes into a different reason. Zacher Litziat Mitzrayim. To remember what's Litziat? What's Mitzrayim?
Egypt,
Egypt. So Litziat is?
to leave.
As the Exodus from Egypt. Okay. Why are we drinking this wine? Two purposes, right? So that we remember how God created the world, and remember how God,
Saved us.
why God has sustained the world. Okay?
It also reinforces the covenant.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because remember,
This is what this prayer really is about, is we affirming our covenant with God.
so what happens? What did we say Shabbat is? The wedding. It's the,
Between us and God.
and what do you do at every wedding? That's the custom. What do you do? 3 glasses of wine.
Yeah.
No dancing. You don't know that joke? You know that joke,
No,
don't you,
I
Joe? Couple goes to the old rabbi and they say, Rabbi, can we dance? We understand you can't dance. No, you may not dance. Can we kiss? Sei gesund, enjoy. We're married. Can we make love? Oh, can we swing on the chandeliers and play pirate and slave girl? You want to play pirate and slave girl? Play pirate and slave girl. Can we make love standing in the kitchen? No. Why? Could lead to dancing. I'm surprised that you've never heard that.
No.
That's
Well, I don't know.
so.
But the men dance the men at weddings and the women dance with, if you're talking Orthodox, no?
Why, even if you're not talking Orthodox, that tradition comes from why do you have the white handkerchief and then lift it over? Because if there's machitza between the men and the women, how do the bride and groom dance together?
Right,
They're both lifted in chairs, and a white kerchief is between
right.
them over the mechitza. Okay, so but what do you have in wine in a wedding? 3 glasses of wine. You got 3 glasses of wine. You got one when you do the ketubah, and then you have 2 other ones under the chuppah.
Huh.
And by the way, whenever you do wine, you always need to put a little bit of water in your wine. Okay, the reason is mayim. So the Hebrew word for water is mayim. We call Torah mayim chayim, water of life. So I put a little water in the wine. So it's not about getting me shicker. It's about realizing that this is a spiritual experience of drinking the wine. So just what we chant every week, right? It is that prayer. If we understand what's really going on in that prayer, it is to remind us, for us to remember that how and why God created the universe, how he has chosen us, the covenant, right? Mitzrayim. Because you have chosen us, holy mikol amim, from all the peoples, and your holy Sabbath, that you have given to us in love and in favor. Baruch atah Adonai, blessed are you, O God, Mekadesh HaShabbat, who sanctifies the Sabbath. The covenant, the creation. So, why is it important? If we remember the covenant, remember the Exodus from Egypt, which is the betrothal. Let's always remember. I was talking to someone earlier today about this. God betroths us on Passover. The counting of the Omer is the engagement period. We get married on Shavuot. Sukkot is our summer honeymoon house, as Rev. Shlomo Karlbach used to phrase it. And in a marriage, you got to have dowry. Our dowry is the land of Israel. Yeah. And our wedding ring is the tefillin. And we're going to go over tefillin in this class. Tefillin literally is the wedding ring between us and God. Literally what it is. And we even say in it a phrase from the book of Hosea that says, I betroth you to me in loving kindness and betroth you to me forever. Okay? It's literally, that's the wedding ring. Right? So in the wedding ceremony, the bride or groom, the groom puts the ring on the bride's index finger while he says, with this ring you are consecrated to me according to the laws of Moses and Israel. And if she accepts it, she doesn't say I do. She puts it on her own ring finger.
Huh.
Action as opposed to words. That's the traditional Jewish wedding. If they want to say vows, they can say vows too, but that's actually what it is. And so we do that. So But look what it is. It's saying when we drink our wine, why do we need to remember this covenant, this getting out of Exodus, this getting out of Egypt, the promised land that God commits to Abraham and everything else? Why is creation important?
What?
Why is creation important? Because creation defines that it's God's to give.
Give to the world, really.
No, he gives it to us. He gives Israel to us.
Okay.
It is our dowry.
All right.
Okay, we get out of Egypt to go home to Israel, and it is our land. It is the dowry God gave to us, promised to us, for us, which causes a real problem. Anytime anyone wants to make a land for peace deal with what is biblical Israel, doesn't it?
They have no right
They
to.
don't have the right to. It's
No.
like saying to God, it's like saying, okay, two of you get married, and say, hey, you know what, I'm not so sure how I want to be married, so I'm going to give you back part of your dowry. Doesn't work that way, does it? Okay, that's what. So we have Kiddush. Okay, I really wanted to do one other thing real quickly. So I know it's late, but if we turn to page 124, this is the Kaddish. The Kaddish literally means anytime it goes it-a in a verb, it's self-reflexive. Okay, so when it says yit whatever, it means he did it to himself. The noun is Shmei Rabbah. So Yikadav Yikadash Shmei Rabbah. Shmei Rabbah is Shem, name, Rabbah, great. What's the great name?
God.
The four-letter name. Specifically the four-letter. It doesn't say God is sanctifying God's self. The four-letter name is sanctify itself, which is the bridge with everything. It's the key that opens up everything. Yit Gadal has made itself bigger. V'yit Gadash and has sanctified itself. The whole Kaddish, all of this, Yit Barak, it has blessed itself. Yishtabafit, Arvid, Mambit, and say all these things are not hallowed and honored, extolled and exalted. He's hallowed himself. He's honored himself. Extolled himself. Exalted himself. He's lifted up himself. And he has lifted himself up. And he's praised himself. Remembering that this prayer, the Kaddish, is not in Hebrew. It is in Aramaic. The Kaddish is a recognition that God is always expanding, and we get to affect how God's expansion is. So we say it in each moment because we've done something. Study, pray, someone died. That made God more godly. Those are just some of the prayers that we say Friday night. And we spend as much time as we do in a Friday night service almost. But if you're aware of these, how does it change your experience of Friday night service or Saturday morning service or any service? Now, we don't teach this to bar mitzvah kids because we just want to make sure they're not interested in the kavanah of it. But right after bar mitzvah, they should be learning this, shouldn't they?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
This is Jewish, hidden in plain sight. Now, if instead I'm only reading the English, and I don't know any of these things, because translation is by definition interpretation, then I'm missing so much depth, aren't I? Right?
Yes.
So the prayer is more meaningful to you now,
Yeah.
knowing this. And it becomes less about the performance of it, but more the participation in prayer. Yeah.
You know, Rabbi, it's interesting because it just makes it much more, like you said, much more real, and it's just you and the Creator at that moment when you have it's a more intimate relationship with Him.
But it's a wedding. It's a marriage.
Yes, so it just
You want to be intimate with your spouse. That's a good idea. If you're not, there's a problem.
yeah. Oh yes.
Right?
Yes, indeed. But it's I don't know. It just makes it so much more real and intimate, and you close everyone else out around you, and
It's a relationship.
you're in that moment.
And so this is very different than the Judaism most of us grew up with, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's right there. But we weren't told, look at what it says. We were just told, read it.
I don't think a lot of the rabbis even know it.
I think that most rabbis don't bother thinking that way. Most Reform and conservative rabbis are more concerned with fundraising than they are with, and their political social action than they are with
Right.
with what is this really about? But so the point is that the order of this is to recapitulate the experiences our ancestors had in the times of the temple. But think about it for a minute. You walk in, you got all these gates, right? And they're selling candles here, and you need a dove for your sacrifice. I got doves for sale. You need a goat. You must have, we got goats for sale, right? Whatever it may be. You get everything, and then you're giving it to the Levites, and they're singing, and they're sacrificing, and there's smoke, and there's music, and it's this big spectacle.
Yeah.
That's not, how do you? And it opens you up when you open. Look, I've never been, but for anyone who's ever been, they tell me you go to Notre Dame and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, who's been to Notre Dame? You've probably been to Notre Dame, no? You've traveled everywhere. You've been to Notre Dame. It's truly awe-inspiring, right?
It was before it was burned down.
Okay. But I've been to the huge cathedral in St. Petersburg, which was again, these huge malachite pillars.
And the Vatican.
I've never been to the Vatican. Until Leo invites me, I'm not going. When he invites me, I'll come. We lost that with the destruction of the temple.
Well,
How do we get it back?
This would be equivalent to the Catholics losing Rome.
And every one of their cathedrals.
Yeah.
And so this book became, and that's why it took 7 to 8 centuries to assemble. And this is basically unchanged last 1,000 years. Oh, I guess that's the end. Is because it was really reverse engineering and deconstructing and then reconstructing. So if you really understand what the prayers are about, what they're making reference to, your brain can go into that altered state of consciousness, that heightened state of awareness. And so a heightened state of awareness neurophysiologically, your brain constantly goes between sympathetic and parasympathetic systems, between fight and flight and relaxation. When someone is in an altered state, be it because of a substance, an orgasm, a dream, meditation, prayer, whatever it may be, the sympathetic and parasympathetic systems shut down, and the hippocampus, which is connected to the third eye, becomes 400% more active. Okay. Seminal work on this was done by Killian Newberg from the University of Pennsylvania back in the mid to late 80s, I think. There's a great book that they wrote that was for lay people called The Mystical Mind, which explains what's going on with the Buddhist monk's brain chemistry when it happens. And so they realize, okay, this is what's happening when someone goes to the temple. We're going to create a portable homeland that we can then take with us. And Jews anywhere for all time will be able to have a similar experience to what happened in the temple, if they let the order of the prayers go through us. If we do that.
Mm.
And so that's why this is so incredibly powerful. Okay. No class next week. And happy Thanksgiving. We do have Shabbat Friday night. And but no class next week, and then we'll start the week after again.
Talk about a marriage between God and Israel. Can you get divorced from God?
No.
You cannot.
I mean, can you get divorced from God? No, but you can cheat on him.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, because God keeps the covenant forever. There's no place we go that is so there's no place where God gives up on us.
We can give up on God,
Absolutely.
and God doesn't give up on us.
Never. And there's really this wonderful piece in the Talmud. It's the first piece of Talmud we typically teach children. And it's about lost and found objects. When an object is lost, when it is found. And when you're compelled to say, I found this. And the idea, I think I talked about last week, and the idea that God never gives up on a lost item, because every human being has its own siman, its own sign. So he always has hope that it'll come back.
So we can't get rid of God.
We give up
We
on
give up on ourselves.
We give up on ourselves. We
and
give up on the
God
relationship.
as
We give
well.
up on God. We give up on everything. Humans
And
give
then
up.
other humans give up on us.
And other humans give up on, but we give up on.
Yes.
We give up on everything, and as human beings, and He forgives us. Look, if you can forgive, with one exception, I shouldn't say he forgives us. He forgives everything except one exception.
What are
Amalek, what's the other one that you're thinking of?
Amalek.
Amalek. Yeah, Amalek. He forgives everybody else.
I thought it was, murder.
Oh, you're talking about murder, idolatry, right? No, but when I'm talking about, he gives up on everybody. No, he doesn't give up on anybody
Except Amalek.
except Amalek, because Amalek perpetrates the weak. He persecutes the weak. The moment you've gone out, or an article that came out yesterday about, there's this. Did you send it out to that particular list of people? To some people? Okay, I'm gonna send out some too. But there's this feud between Mark Levin and Tucker Carlson, and but one of the things I talked about in this article was that God forgives everybody except Amalek. And the difference, because Tucker Carlson says there's no difference if Israel's attacking Gaza, it's the same as when on October 7th. That is BS, because the difference is when Israel attacks Gaza and children die, we mourn them. They are casualties of war. They are not our goal. Hamas, their goal was the children and the end. Yeah, that's the difference. If that's your goal to violate,
They're
perpetrate,
morally equivalent.
You-
Who brought him off?
Qatar.
Qatar,
So hopefully that helps, and
the great Arab boat.
we'll take.